Welcome to the Leaders of Tomorrow, the only show on Indian television where you, the MSME, get center stage to voice your opinions and thoughts. This is ET Now, special daily initiative to give MSMEs and entrepreneurs the opportunity to be front and center on every industry and area that matters to you. Tonight on the show on Influencer, we'll feature two conversations. First up is Masters India, and later on the show, we will bring you a conversation with Obopay. Tax compliance is in focus of late thanks to GST, and who better to help MSMEs and small businesses understand the changed tax environment than Masters India, one of the companies picked as the GST Suvidha provider under the GSTN. I caught up with the company to talk about GST compliance, the use of technology and what's next as far as the roadmap is concerned. Take a listen. Thank you so much for speaking with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Let's start by talking about Masters India, the journey, what you would want our viewers to know about the company.
So Masters India as a company was established in 1999, and we started with manufacturing. We manufacture aluminium wire rod, sheet coil and foil, and with time we have diversified actually into different industries. And recently we diversified into IT industry. So about 8 months back we applied to become GST Suvidha provider. So now we are one of the 34 companies in India with access to GST APIs. So, and now what we are doing is we are offering GST APIs and compliance solution to enterprise customers.
I want to specifically talk about auto tax. What can you tell us about that?
Auto tax is the compliance solution offered by Masters India, and auto tax has two components to it. One is GST APIs that we are offering to companies who are building their own compliance solution or who have purchased a compliance solution from a third-party vendor who does not have access to GST APIs. And the other component is the complete integrated GSP ASP solution, which allows them to manage their GST return filing end-to-end. So auto tax as a product can integrate with your existing array of ERPs or e-commerce platform and allow you to basically automate the whole GST compliance process. So we take the invoices from the ERP, the accounting software package that you're currently using, push it to our system called auto tax, and there you can manage your GST compliance and return filing, and then push it to GST and Goods and Services Tax Network servers. And basically the benefit of this is that it allows you to automate most of the processes, reducing the amount of time that is required to do GST return filing, therefore allowing you to put your resources and use your resources efficiently for important business functions.
My next question is a slightly bigger question. Do you think there's enough understanding of tax compliance in India?
See, I would accept that there is certain understanding of GST, but yes, a greater understanding is required among small businesses, even large enterprises, I would say, and to an extent CAs would also need to understand all the GST rules and regulations. And for that, right, what we have done is we have gone ahead and we have basically designed a course on GST also, and we are offering that course which allows a layman to understand the nitty-gritties of GST in about 8 hours, and they also get a certification from us. And what it allows you to do is understand the minimum that is required for you to operate a business in India, because GST is a tax that has to be complied by all the businesses which fall under GST regime. There are about 84 lakh businesses already which are part of it, and there will be more in coming months. So it is very important that all the businesses do understand to an extent what are the rules that are part of GST and how they affect their businesses.
There's also the aspect of technology use. A lot of MSMEs who get in touch with us under a weekly call-in show that we have here on Leaders of Tomorrow tell us that they've not been able to use any amount of technology in their businesses. Now having to use technology at their business is something that they can't avoid. What have been some of the challenges that you see there? What are some of the challenges you foresee will happen, especially now that businesses have started seeing some sort of change?
See, I would say that yes, what we are seeing is that a lot of businesses who used to probably maintain their books, right, on paper till now, are now moving to adopt invoicing softwares. They are now moving to adopt compliance softwares and accounting softwares, and that is certainly helpful, right? There is a greater awareness in the market because not only us but a lot of companies are pushing for it at the same time. So that actually enables a lot of people, because given the size of the country, right, and the number of businesses that there are, a lot of outreach is required. So not only private companies, but government is also playing an important role with their Digital India scheme. So that is one thing. And now with the price of technology, right, and the ease of use, I would say our aim has been to empower as many businesses as possible. So what we are doing is that we are offering our compliance solution at a very competitive price, and we are getting into very strategic alliances with very, very large businesses in India who have a very massive reach in terms of users, right? And these businesses are tying up with us and they understand the need. So we are bringing in products which are basically cost a very, very small business essentially nil, nothing. And they will be able to start with GST return filing immediately with no upfront payment or payment in coming months. So what it does, it allows a lot of companies to adopt technology and experience it and experience the benefit of it. And probably moving forward, when they have realized that what sort of benefits that technology can provide them in terms of growing the business, right, they would understand the benefit and would be willing to pay a good amount of price for that as well.
You've been picked as one of the 34 GST Suvidha providers under the GSTN. What was the experience like? What do you think helped you stand out against your competitors?
So it has been great, right? After clearing the initial qualifications round and getting listed as one of the 34 GSPs, right? It was a great experience, first of all, and I think it does provide a certain advantage over other companies who are not GSPs because of the fact that we are government certified. And yes, the idea is to, as I said, to reach out to as many businesses as possible and help them with GST compliance. So we are basically helping very, very large enterprises generating billions of dollars in revenue, and we are helping businesses who have just registered for the first time under any sort of tax. Now, but the solution required by both of these businesses are very different. So where one business is looking for an automated solution which can integrate with multiple accounting packages and resource planning softwares that they are using, right, and allow hundreds of users that they have in their organization to manage GST compliance. There we are offering an enterprise grade GST compliance software with SLAs and performance benchmarks and 24/7 service, whereas the idea for smaller businesses is to help them as much as possible with GST compliance, where we are pushing with a lot of partners in different states, from Jharkhand to Maharashtra to Bengal, right? So we have partner ecosystem, and these companies are helping us reach out to these very, very small businesses and help them with GST compliance. We have also prepared a GST course which is for small businesses and accountants. They can know about GST in essentially 6 to 8 hours and get a qualification from us as well. And that has been our strategy, especially for the SME market. And as I said, we are also tying up with a lot of large companies in India who are basically looking to provide a value-added service to their end customers, where we are pushing for a software which will essentially be available for a very, very low price, or that can be adopted by a lot of businesses in India.
All right, let's wind down this interview then. What's next on the radar for you?
So I would say that going forward, there are a lot of opportunities in the market, since digitalization is happening at a mass level in India now. Every business is adopting technology in one way or the other, which will create a lot of opportunities, and our software will grow in terms of user functionalities and features that are available, and will not only help them with compliance in terms of GST, but other compliances as well. And also there's a goal of helping businesses to manage their businesses effectively, because the type of the way the businesses are engaging with us, right, it is very encouraging. And what we see is that there is a lot of technology can support them in multiple ways, probably, which are not accessible, especially for small enterprises till now, or small businesses, right? So we are looking at mass adoption of technology and helping these businesses with their business in general.
Nishank Goyal, thank you very much for speaking with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Time for a break. On the other side, we'll bring you an influencer with Obopay. To stay tuned. back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. And tonight on Influence, I'm bringing you a segment I did earlier with Obopay. We spoke about how mobile payments in India is changing, the Fintech space in India, the government's digitization move, and much more. Take a listen. Shailendra, thank you very much for speaking with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Let's start by talking about Obopay, focusing specifically, of course, about the Indian journey so far.
Obopay started its journey way back in 2005 in the US market when we got our first license to do interstate money transfer using mobiles as a means of devices to go ahead and do that. So when we started in 2005, it was quite an exciting period for us. A lot of learning, new uncharted territories is where we walked into. And we quickly realized that the market opportunities would be more forthcoming when we actually go into the emerging markets. So in 2008, we entered the West African markets through a bank called Societe Generale and rolled out our services in Cameroon and Senegal. And in India, in 2008, we came to India and launched mobile money services called Nokia Money. So Nokia Money was probably the first prepaid instrument in India, and it was an exciting period for Obopay at that point in time. A couple of years later, now we call it Obopay 3.0, but that's when Obopay 1.0 was there. Nokia Money was a very exciting period. A lot of learnings as such. In 2012-2013, the organization went completely private, and we changed our focus. We started looking at being a business-to-business service provider. The reasons for it specifically are the changing landscape of regulation across markets, a lot of interest around large telcos and banks getting into the space. So we said, I think Obopay as an organization can work better partnering with these large entities and scale up and provide services in a much better manner.
The mobile payments industry in India has undergone a lot of changes. My question is how you've stayed abreast of those changes.
Now, India is a very exciting market, and last year, thanks to most of the initiatives the governments have taken, we see a surge in consumer demand for digital payments and digital services. I think it's a very exciting time for India right now. We're still at the early stage of adoption of mobile payments and mobile money as a concept. We see a lot of good things happening in India. One, the government is fueling this growth, this consumer demand. Two, a lot of innovation is happening in the space with a lot more new entrants coming into the space and a lot of excitement around that in the entrepreneurial space. Three, there's also a lot of funds coming into the system fueling this growth. And the ecosystem is getting developed. One of the critical success factors for a successful mobile money ecosystem to exist is acceptance points, a lot of acceptance points, and we see that happening right now in India with many players playing in the space.
You've transitioned your operating model from a mobile money transfer service provider to a back-end tech player. What made the change necessary? What made the transition smooth? And what were some of the strategies perhaps and some of the processes perhaps that you put in place to help make that transition? I want you to talk to our viewers about what they should keep in mind if they're also looking at making a change in strategy. Any tips, any suggestion, any advice you have?
So it was kind of a natural decision for us during the 2012-2013 period when the transition of the company happened from the earlier principles to the new principles. A couple of ex-Infosys veterans have picked up this asset. They've just picked up the technology part of it and said, what can we do with it? It's a great piece of code. It's got great learnings in terms of the way the technology can be used for consumer space. How can we use it and what is that we should do to use it in such a manner? So when they looked at it, they said, what is a core competence of us as an organization, us as a set of team members? What can we do? What are we good at? And they figured out that technology is their core forte. And they said, if technology is the core forte, then why don't we just fundamentally focus on our core competence and see how we can fundamentally change the way we can deliver services. End of the day, it turned out to be a pretty straightforward decision for us to look at our own core competencies, our own team management capabilities. So I don't know, it's a great advice, but MSMEs can definitely look at seeing what they're good at, what problems they're solving. We do work with a lot of startups, and most of the times we do see that a solution is chasing a problem, which makes life a little difficult to kind of handle in the market. So I think they should understand the needs of the problems, what they're specifically changing, how the economy is changing, how the business environment is changing, and how regulations are impacting this, and then manage and decide which space to be in.
Now, with the government's thrust towards increased digitization of payments in India, talk to our viewers about how they can make the transition to a digital payment system and how that transition can be made seamless.
I think world over governments have started understanding and recognizing the fact that more and more people have to be provided with affordable and scalable financial solutions. And mobile is, as a means of providing services, is turning out to be quite popular across different segments of the society. So I think Indian government is also looking at the same manner. I think all the moves which they've made last year specifically has resulted in a lot of creation of a lot of awareness in the system. Now consumers are picking up in a good manner. We've seen some numbers of how UPI's adoption has grown, and there's a 12% raise in UPI in July compared to the previous month. It means that there is an adoption. India has a long way to go as an economy in terms of adoption. So we are a billion population, we are a billion people around, and we're still in very small numbers in terms of adoption. The way we see the adoption, the parameters to fuel this growth would be, one, all the efforts which are going in the consumer space, but I think the efforts more in the business space has to be a lot more. Once the businesses start adopting mobile payments or mobile financial services, we think the growth will be manifold over there. The growth rates will be significantly large in that space.
How's the fintech space, Shailendra, changing in India? What will it take to go to the next growth phase? What are some of the innovation that we're seeing perhaps in this space that you can walk us through?
I think it's a great time to be in India for the simple reason that the amount of push what we are seeing from the governments, the regulators, to kind of fuel this market growth is very exciting. Two, a lot of funding is coming to India to help entrepreneurs here set up and start up and work on various problems and find innovative solutions. What we see as one of the key drivers would be, again, as I said, at the cost of repetition, as I again, businesses adopting to it and the ease of use of these technologies.
Run us through your own fundraising journey. What's next on the radar for Obopay?
Once we turned private, we've managed to become zero debt and cash positive entity, and our internal accruals are fueling our growth at this point in time. For every growing entity, we'd always look to be associated with the right kind of partners. The partners have to be strategic.
Given that you're present in so many markets, how's India different from its peers, and how soon before India perhaps becomes a cashless society like, say, Sweden or the US?
See, India, I think the regulation has come in, the regulators have played a slightly cautious role when they kind of opened up the Indian system for mobile financial services. We do have a robust banking system, so we never felt the real need for having an alternative to a banking system, but so that I think was a fundamental difference between India and other countries or the emerging markets where these technologies have started pretty way back in the early 2000s and all these things. That's one fundamental point. The second thing is, when we compare India with, say, peers like Brazil or South Africa or Russia or China, compared to Brazil and South Africa, I think India is ahead of the curve in terms of digital financial systems, but we lag China and Russia. The lag is significant. I think the regulations which have come in place right now and the kind of push which is fueling the growth should help us grow pretty quickly.
Shailendra Naidu, thank you very much for speaking with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow.
Thank you, Sunanda.
That wraps up tonight's episode of Leaders of Tomorrow. If you have any questions for us, you can always email us at leadersoftomorrowtimesgroup.com. On social media, tweet at me at Sunanda_J or on LOT_ET Now. You can also go to our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now, or call us on that number you see on your screen. We love hearing from you. We promise to have all your questions answered. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good night.